Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yugioh Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains episode review. This time we will be reviewing episode 37, the conclusion between Spectre and Playmaker. And general impressions, what did I think about this episode? I actually loved this episode. This is probably one of my favorite episodes of VRains so far. We had two character deaths, and of course by deaths, put that in quotations, and with an asterisk and say, probably will be revived at some point. Although Spectre's was kind of interesting. I thought Akira's exemplified everything that I love about his character, and we will obviously get to that, but yes, the two characters that did die in this episode were Akira and seemingly Spectre, because Spectre's was kind of more mysterious. A lot of people are saying he burned to death, he burned in the flames, which I never look up other people's opinions on episodes, because I don't want my opinion to be skewed until after I post my review, but I just wanted to see what people were saying about Spectre's death scene. That's all I really wanted to look at, and it seems a majority of people are assuming that he is dead, which is probably a safe assumption. So it does not take a genius to figure out from that point that Playmaker does in fact win this duel. He does overcome Spectre. And Spectre, who stole the show for about the last month and a half, is finally stopped. His craziness, his disaster, path is finally stopped, and hopefully he will be back at some point. I'd said that if Playmaker wins and Spectre is not redeemed, I will be fine with that result, and that's exactly what happened. Spectre by no means was redeemed, and that is good to see, because again, I want him to maybe have a redemption arc. Sure, almost all Yu-Gi-Oh characters have that, but let it be down the road. Let Spectre be one of the bigger threats in Yu-Gi-Oh VRains throughout the show, because a lot of people seem to love him. I've seen a lot of people say that he is their favorite character, and even if you don't like him, you respect him as a villain, and you respect what he's done as a villain. So that's at least a majority of people. Then there's some people who, of course, don't really like him, but I think he's been a magnificent villain. And it'll be sad to see him go, but it looks like Revolver will be now carrying the load of the villain role, which I like Revolver a lot as well, so that will be cool. But anyway, the duel begins with obviously Playmaker being in a very tough spot if he attacks Spectre. Oh, actually, before we even get into it, the contest has ended. And congratulations to Vanessa, who guessed 25 spell and traps. There were 7 in this last episode, bringing our total from 18 up to 25. So in the last 8 episodes, 25 total spell and trap cards were used, and 2 opponents, or 2 characters not named Yusaku, won duels in Spectre and Revolver. So Vanessa predicted it right on the money, so huge congratulations to her. I will be reaching out to her to see what prize she wants to select, and thank you to everyone who participated. So again, the duel begins with Playmaker in a very, very tricky spot. If he attacks Spectre, the vine cage that he's in will enclose and eventually destroy Akira, the vine cage that Akira's in. And so Playmaker does not want to attack, and Spectre keeps taunting him about his, worthless sense of justice, that he's too soft, he's too weak, and that he's a genius, and then he developed this foolproof plan, and they go back and forth a little bit. Spectre eventually, Yusaku really for the first half of the episode was just protecting his field, protecting his stuff, and Spectre finally seemingly broke through that protection when he summoned his Link 4 Sun Avalon. I'm not even going to try to pronounce this monster, but he summons his Link 4 Sun Avalon, which is this really big, beautiful tree. He even at one point uses a trap card where the tree is on the trap card, so I thought that was really cool. I like when we see, I know when Yugioh dueled Dennis in Arc 5, we saw a magic card, I believe it was, that had like a young-looking Yugioh on it. So I like when cards, and Yu-Gi-Oh's done that all the time when they throw characters or certain monsters on cards, and I just like when they do that and they are relevant to the duel. So that was really cool to see. And it seemed like Spectre was going to finally defeat Playmaker. He went through with the attack. His Link 4 got 4,000 attack points, so he was able to attack Xcode Talker and Playmaker's trap card that prevented any Link 3 or lower monsters from attacking was basically nullified. That obviously protected him from Spectre's main threat, Sunvine Thrasher at the time, but once the Link 4 tree got 4,000 attack, it really didn't matter, that card anymore. So Playmaker ends up destroying the tree by boosting his, I believe it was Xcode, up to 4,000 attack points. So it's mutual destruction, but he still takes 400 or 500 points of damage. So he has 50 life points left, but the tree is destroyed. And this is the first time we see how, I think it was all safe to assume how much that tree meant to Spectre, but Spectre begins to lose his mind. Spectre becomes fully enraged, which was awesome. He quickly summons that tree back and talks about how Playmaker doesn't have a chance, and the tree once again gets boosted up to 4,000 attack. And this was the point where the duel became very, very or I don't want to say the duel, but the episode became really oh wow, I did not see them coming. Ever since episode 36, when Kusanagi was shown to begin hacking after Akira was shown to be in the cage, myself and hundreds, thousands of others were convinced that Kusanagi would come through. We had no reason not to believe that. Every time Kusanagi has put his mind to something hacking-wise, he's been able to deliver. He is the Batman of the hacking world. Whenever you need something done, if Kusanagi's on the case, he gets it done. He absolutely gets it done, and he starts hacking, and it looks like he's right about to free Akira, and Playmaker realizes that Kusanagi is trying to free Akira, and he fails. The program is too complicated for his system to work. Spectre laughs at his efforts, and Akira then starts delivering a speech, and when I was live reacting to it, I didn't really know where it was going at first, and then I figured it out right at the end of his speech that Akira was planning to sacrifice himself, which made perfect sense for his character. Since he was 16 years old, for the last 10 years, since his parents died in a car crash, he is a character that has done everything. His main goal of everything was to keep his sister safe, to keep his sister Aoi, to keep his sister Blue Angel happy. Aoi is gone, and I said this, I think me and a bunch of friends did a Hunger Games style video where I figured, because it's Yoshida, about 5 episodes ago that the slaughtering was going to begin, and it absolutely seems like we are in full slaughter mode right now with the cast. I had said Akira has nothing once Aoi loses, and I thought she was going to lose to Spectre and then be turned into Data. He has nothing. So I thought he was going to end up dueling Spectre or dueling the Knights and dying that way, but he's in a position where right now he's being used as bait, he's being used as hostage, and he is the reason that Playmaker can't go through and defeat the man who ultimately killed his sister. So what does he do? He selflessly takes himself from the world, putting his hands on the bars, screaming in pain as his account is, I assume, deleted or put a virus into, as Kogami said in 35 when he was initially captured, and he is removed. And the sequence there, the music, I thought was great. You just see Aoi smile seemingly at him, and I think they kind of show the last time they were truly happy. And that was when Akira was probably 20 and Aoi was maybe 10, or Aoi was maybe 6. She was very young, a happier time. And yes, even though their parents were probably killed very, very more recently than they are now, things weren't as complicated back then. And I thought that whole sequence was beautiful. I've already seen a few people on Twitter tell me that they teared up at it, and it was a really impactful scene. And to see my favorite character die, I don't really cry at things in general, so I'm kind of, that's not really how I show sadness, I guess, but I still thought it was sad. I thought it was powerful, and I thought it was beautifully well done the first time I watched it, and I rewatched it again, and because it caught me off guard, too. That was something that I did not see happening this early. I thought he was going to die. I was actually beginning to think that maybe he would duel Dr. Kogami. Well, maybe Go is going to duel Revolver, and then Playmaker will duel Revolver after Go loses, or something along those lines, but not the case. They just kill him off right here, and Kusanagi, the anger that he showed because he failed to save Akira, he was clearly extremely frustrated, and it's a feeling that he probably doesn't feel too often because, again, he is the Batman of hacking, and he is someone who waits on the sidelines strategically, of course. I'm not calling him like a coward or anything. That's just what he does. And just, that's got to be an aggravating feeling. You give it your all, and everything you do fails from Kusanagi's point of view, and that's why we just see the anger when he slams his fist on the keyboard. And this is a character that he never met. He never really met Akira Aizen, but yet still, he still feels that much emotion because he knows who Akira is. And yes, he was maybe very pissed at Akira for trying to say he could relate to victims of the incident, but at the end of the day, he knows Aizen's a good guy, and Aizen, a very selfless character. I love characters like that. So rest in peace, a character that I did not think was going to die this early. I thought he was definitely going to die at some point in this arc. That one caught me off guard, and I just love when the show does that. So Akira's Aizen is dead, and the duel resumes, and Playmaker is probably the angriest we have seen him since he dueled Akira, since Akira brought up that he could relate to the victims of the incident and he knows what they went through, which clearly Playmaker and Kusanagi did not agree with at all. So Playmaker infuriated. I also thought the animation was interesting in this episode. There were some points where I didn't really love it, but there were other points where I thought the faces were really, really well done, and were real, especially when Spectre was, well, we'll get to that, but Playmaker ends up seemingly going for mutual destruction, but he uses a card that punishes all the link spamming that the players were doing. The opponent's monster loses 400 attack for every link monster in the grave, 14 link monsters in the grave, so in total, that would have nullified 5,600 attack points, which is nuts. Obviously, Spectre's tree goes down to 0. Playmaker attacks, destroys the tree, finishes Spectre. Spectre at least is self-aware. He's like, I should have just let the bridge collapse, which he absolutely should have. When I was live reacting to it, I was like, only in Yu-Gi-Oh! Can a character be talked out of doing something so that they could keep their pride as a duelist. That's just so typical Yu-Gi-Oh! Over the last 15 years. So I thought that was funny, and at least Spectre was self-aware that he kind of made a blunder there, and he apologizes to Revolver for being incompetent. I like that, though, as Spectre is like kind of walking away at a very brisk pace. You see Playmaker running past him trying to get off the bridge because the bridge is collapsing, and Spectre then sees the tree. He then sees what he views as his mother burning to death, and this was a scene where I felt very, very sad, which I feel like I shouldn't, because Spectre is obviously not a great human being, but I think they just did a good job with making his character, I don't want to say relatable, but a character that you can kind of understand why he has such strong feelings for a tree and why he views the tree. And the scene that also saddened me, I think, is when you look at the flashbacks he has, you actually see a new flashback, and it's a flashback of his actual mother dropping him off at the tree. And I think that was the moment that probably saddened me more than anything else, because I'm just thinking of, you know, an infant being left in the wilderness pretty much to die. I mean, to leave him, you know, sometimes you hear stories of, like, children being left at, like, house stores or, like, you know, orphan centers, but to leave a child in the middle of the woods, it's just absolutely heartless. And so I think that's probably what got me more than anything else. But Spectre then walks into the fire. I don't know why the tree was still on the field, though, because all the monsters should disappear after the duel ends. That's how it has been in, I think, every single Yu-Gi-Oh!, but whatever. And Spectre walks into the flames with tears in his eyes, and he says, "Mother," and then I think the tree and the flames kind of engulf him, and that's it. Playmaker's running, the bridge collapses. I don't know who's going to come to save him. Maybe it'll be Go. It probably will be Go, because Go is really the only, like, good guy left in Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains right now, or in Link VRains, excuse me. And so, a really high-octane 10 minutes and a really, really great final episode for the Spectre and Playmaker duel. Absolutely loved it. It looks like we might have a recap on our hands next week. I'm not going to go too deep into that. I'll give my thoughts on that and the 39 summary, which we got on Tuesday. I will give my thoughts on that tomorrow on Thursday. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed my live reaction earlier in the day. If you haven't seen that, definitely check it out. And I hope you enjoyed my formal thoughts, my review on episode 37 of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains. I hope you also leave your thoughts down below, and thank you, as always, so much for the constant support. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.